Are you out of your mind? Come on, why? Because he's Mookie Betts? I mean, what's wrong with Charlie Blackmon in Colorado? What's wrong with Acuna, who only had 78 RBIs? There you go. Outlaw Seal says 85. All right, Mr. Caruso. Doug Boylston, 70, okay? Yeah, he's going to score a ton of runs. Fine. All right, a ton of runs. Hitting behind the pitcher in the National League, to me, absolutely devalues Mookie Betts, okay? So, just saying. And I also did a rant about, I want to ask this question in the chat room. How many people in the chat room believe in the traditional fantasy baseball rankings? I really need to know. I need your help in there in the chat room. I know you guys are busy and some people just listen. You don't really have your eye on the chat room. But how many people believe that the way rankings are done, for the most part, in fantasy baseball have any value at all? Unlike football, where every player really does the same thing except for quarterbacks. You get receptions, you get rushing yardage, you get touchdowns. That's what you get scored on. You could rank players and draft players based upon a ranking. You can't do that in fantasy. That's my opinion. So what's your opinion on rankings, just rankings, in fantasy baseball alone, the traditional way, okay? Not the way that I want to do it. I want to know if you see the waste of time, okay? ADP, that's different than rankings. That's different than rankings. And you could say the same thing about auction values. People don't get auction values. Ray K, good morning. Auction values tell you how much it's going to take to get the player, okay? Right? That's what that means. Rankings tell you how good the player is. So it's two different things. Okay? There you go. Pencil and paper, every list. That's right, me and George. That's called ancient school. Forget about the old school has gone out the window with me and George. They've made an ancient school now, is what it's called. Ancient school. All right, a lot of people are wondering about someone who could be a 2020 guy who was just recently acquired by the Chicago Cubs. I know we talked about him briefly, but I'm starting to like this guy because he's getting so little attention. Nobody likes Steven Souza. I'm telling you, he's not getting a lot of attention, and I think that he really should. So let's talk about Steven Souza for a second. He has produced his three most impressive seasons with the Rays. This is, so I got to tell you something. 2 injury-plagued seasons, and now he's on the Cubs, who are making an attempt to end their recent regressions. They're both trying to come back. So Steven Souza is someone that I am not going to take lightly. I'm really going to watch him now. He's 30 years old, all right? And he's really appreciative that the Cubs, he signed a 1-year, $1 million contract, looking for a chance to earn an additional $2 million in roster and performance bonuses. He could strengthen the Cubs offense. And Jason Hayward, it's almost time to give up on Jason Hayward, especially against lefties. He struggles against lefties. So don't forget, Souza's best season, he had 30 home runs, okay? And he could steal a base as well. I don't know how much he's going to steal. I think he may try not to get injured, all right? So he did believe in 2019 he was at full strength, and then he tore knee ligaments. So just give this guy a break. 6'4", 225. I think Steven Souza is someone you should pay attention to, okay? Absolutely do. Now, you've heard reports on Tyler Glasnow. He returned at the end of the season from forearm strain that really sidelined him for nearly 4 months. In November, he underwent median nerve decompression procedure. Who in the chat room has had a median nerve decompression procedure? Andrea, sometimes you look like you've had one. She sits down on the chair. She puts her hand over her eyes, both of them. She probably doesn't want to realize she's with me, but she always looks like she has median nerve compression procedure. So Glasnow has been throwing. He's 26. He's been throwing without issue, okay, including a bullpen session the other day, working out at the Trop for the last few weeks. He said he got bored in California, okay? He was off to a great start last year. Remember, 6-0, 147 before leaving a start at the beginning of May with a forearm strain. It was a minor. It just sidelined him into September. He came back to pitch a couple of times in the regular season. Limited workload, okay? Now, Glasnow feels he's 100% heading into 100% heading into the spring. He also said he is no longer throwing the changeup, and he's been working on a splitter as his third pitch. Okay? Everybody got that? Working on a splitter as his third pitch. All right, Atlanta Braves. Everybody looked at the Atlanta Braves. We still envy the Atlanta Braves. We look at their team, and every time an Atlanta Brave pitcher pops up, I mean, I know Fultonowicz had a good end to the season last year. You got Cole Hamels, you got Max Fried, you got Mike Soroka. But with Newcomb, Bryce Wilson, Kyle Wright, who's going to be the fifth starter for the Atlanta Braves? Who is going to get that spot? Most of us would say it would be Newcomb. Big Al on the prowl. There you go. Big Al suffering from a little bit of the flu. Al, I know he drinks Ballantine, so there's no problem with Al getting the corona. And ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello to Chris Gallo this morning. Good morning to you, Christopher. Out there in Connecticut. Gotta have to see Chris Gallo again pretty soon. I met him a couple of times at the First Pitch Forum. Kyle Wright stinks. Okay, so let's talk about who's going to be the fifth closer in Atlanta, if you want to know about that one, okay? Fifth closer in Atlanta. Anybody want to take a guess on who's going to be the fifth closer in Atlanta? Nobody. Okay, let's take a look and see. Two pitchers are penciled into the rotation. You got Soroka and you got Fried. Each of them have less than 40 career starts. Two other pitchers trying to crack the rotation technically are still rookies, and we're talking about Bryce Wilson and Kyle Wright. And Ian Anderson ended last season at AAA. So if everything goes as planned, Soroka and Fried are the only pitchers among the group that will garner major innings. Sean Newcomb must prove he's a reliable starter. Fultonowicz, and I said he had a good ending. He had a National League Division Series debacle. And Cole Hamels has to show he's got something in the tank. He's only had 150 starts once in the last 3 years. 150 innings, okay? So if things go according to script, the Braves used 11 starting pitchers last year. 9 of them made at least 4 starts. Chances are the Braves are going to need one of their young pitchers to throw a few terms. And Soroka, all-star rookie, he was the 29th best starter in the major leagues. Now, this is almost like, second time around. And I think that the Atlanta Braves pitching staff is a little overvalued, okay? I think that Soroka will regress he was the 29th best pitcher in the majors to the 39th. I think Max Fried, who was ranked 24th in 2019, will drop down to 56th. I think Wilson and Wright still won't be ready. I think Anderson will get a shot, and I think Ian Anderson could be the big sleeper. Okay? It's reasonable to expect regression from Soroka. And Fried, I don't know. I loved his composure. So, I don't know, okay? But I must say, okay, that when I said Soroka, 29th this was all Pacoda. This wasn't me. If I mentioned, this was Pacoda. I agree that Soroka is going to regress. I don't think Fried is going to regress, and Pacoda says Wilson and Wright still won't be ready, and Anderson gets his big shot. I kind of agree with that, except I don't think Soroka is going to fall. I think he'll regress. I think Fried is going to improve. Okay, I really do. So the way it looks, the Braves have 4 rotation positions set going into spring training. Little reason to doubt that Hamels will be effective. Soroka, Fried. But does anybody in the chat room like Foltynewicz? And let's start the bidding. Foltynewicz, $3 on Nick Foltynewicz in a mixed league. Let's go $3 on Nick Foltynewicz. It's Soroka. All right, not Soroka. Did I say Soroka? The White Sox gal, I need you by my side all the time. But here's the key. All right, I called him Soroka, but everybody knows who I meant. I'm sorry. Okay? We got $57 on. Wait a second. What are you doing? All right, we got $7 on Foltynewicz. I know I'm not pronouncing his name wrong. How about? If it was Harry Carey, would you criticize him? Nick Foltynewicz. Here on the mound for the Braves is Nicky Foltynewicz. Pitching for the Braves is Nick. All right, let's put it that way, okay? And for pitching for the Braves is Siriaka. Mike Similak. Mike is on the mound for the Braves. There you go, White Sox gal. I love you, man. Thank you. You know what? Tito Luna is here. I'll tell you one of the great things. Yesterday, after the show, I got an email from a fellow named Jerry Zona. Now, Jerry Zona, when I first started, Jerry Zona used to listen to my podcast, and if anybody would like to take Jerry Zona's spot, and he made little notes of all the mistakes that I made, okay? So if anybody would like to do that and then send them to me at some point after the podcast, that would be fantastic, all right? And Jerry Zona, who I haven't heard from in years and years, said to us yesterday, keep your clothes on, because we were talking about Andrea's bust yesterday, and I referenced the fact that we might do the show topless if we get enough callers. Anyway, it was a good show. We talked about Andrea's bust yesterday, and I forget who was. She had at least 2 that we talked about. But anyway, nope, White Sox gal's not going to do it. Yeah, Jerry Zona's brother was Harry. Actually, he lives in Arizona. His name isn't Zona, but he calls himself that. Jerry from Arizona. Anyway, let's continue on. Do you want to continue on? I think I do. Just to say, so Newcomb couldn't stay in the rotation in 2019. I don't know what to think of Newcomb. He had success in the bullpen. He's not needed out there in the bullpen that much, okay? Pacoda likes Wilson better than Newcomb, all right? But here's a call from Georgia, all right? Sanoa, Georgia. How you doing? Huh? Yeah, what do you want? I don't think you want too much because you can't even freaking talk, right? You have something to say? You got 1 second left. Good thing for the Braves. All right, so anyway, that takes care of the Braves. And I think the Atlanta Braves are going to be pretty good this year. Let's talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks and what they have to offer this year in Major League Baseball. The notion that was probably it's possible that this team could be a contender. Their over-under is 83. 83. They are 20-1 to win the National League West, and they are 40-1 to win the World Series. I'm not taking those bets, but I'll say over 83. Okay? So, look, they had a dream about after they acquired Starling Marte last month, and they had a dream of becoming a threat to end the Dodgers' 7-year run on the divisional title. But holy cannoli, acquiring Mookie Betts and David Price, that trade, serves as a reminder of the balance of power in the National League West. Okay, it still goes to the Dodgers. But look, the Diamondbacks very active offseason. They got Starling Marte only because Madison Bumgarner signed a very team-friendly contract. And here's a team. And I love it, man. This team goes ahead. I mean, look, San